Welcome to the deep dive. We take your sources, pull out the key insights, and basically give you a shortcut to getting up to speed. Today, we're diving into something really relevant for a lot of people: recovery after a total knee replacement, TKR.
That's right. We're digging into the science, the peer-reviewed stuff, but making it, easy to understand. No dense jargon. Our goal is to help you really grasp what's important in the research you've shared.
And just before we jump in, we should mention Oriems Fit. We'll touch on how some innovative approaches, kind of like what they're doing, are helping shape wellness and recovery. More on that a bit later.
Okay, so imagine this. What if there was a way, something accessible, not invasive, that could potentially give your muscle strength and, importantly, activation a boost, either before you have knee surgery or after working alongside your usual physical therapy? The science is still, evolving, but it offers some real hope. Today, we're looking at a systematic review on exactly that. It's about neuromuscular electrical stimulation, or NMES, and how it might help quadriceps strength for TKR patients.
Right. We know knee replacements are fantastic for pain relief, life-changing often, but there's this common hurdle people hit afterwards. And this is where it gets really interesting for recovery. That lingering quad weakness. The muscle just doesn't seem to come back fully for some.
Exactly, and it's not a minor thing.
Yeah.
This weakness, it directly links to how well you can function getting up from a chair, climbing stairs, and, the basics. Some research shows quad strength can plummet, like down by 62% just 4 weeks after surgery compared to before. And sometimes these issues stick around even a year later. And interestingly, it's not always because the muscle has shrunk or atrophied.
Okay, so if the muscle size isn't always the problem, what does that tell us? It suggests that just doing traditional strengthening exercises might not be the whole picture for everyone, especially if the muscle isn't activating properly.
Precisely. That's a critical point. These deficits in muscle activation, basically, your brain's signal getting through to make all the muscle fibers work, that can be a huge part of the problem. Like up to 65% of the strength loss in some PAR cases. It's like the connection is fuzzy. So yeah, it really points towards needing something extra, an adjunct to help wake that muscle up.
Which brings us neatly to NMES. For anyone listening who hasn't heard of it, what exactly is NMES? How does it work?
So NMES uses an electrical current applied through electrodes on your skin right over the muscle. It targets the spot where the nerve meets the muscle, the neuromuscular junction. And this current causes the muscle to contract. It mimics what happens during voluntary exercise. The main goal is to boost strength by making the muscle work. It's usually part of a wider exercise plan, not really a standalone thing.
Ah, okay. So it could potentially help rebuild that faulty connection we were talking about. And I've heard NMES is generally quite available, relatively inexpensive too. It makes it sound like a really practical option to add in.
It can be. And here's something else. There's evidence suggesting that how strong your quad is before surgery can actually predict how well you'll function a year after TKR, which makes you think maybe NMES could be helpful both before surgery to prepare the muscle and afterwards to speed up recovery. It's a compelling idea.
Okay, let's dig into the specific research. You mentioned a systematic review. Cochrane reviews, they're kind of the gold standard, right? Very rigorous. What was the aim of this particular review by Monahan and colleagues back in 2010?
Yeah, Cochrane reviews are top tier. Their main goal here was pretty straightforward: to see how effective surface NMES is for quad strengthening, either before or after TKR, or both. And they were incredibly thorough. Searched all the major medical databases, checked reference lists, even contacted companies, experts. They really tried to find everything published.
Wow, okay, so they cast a really wide net. What did they actually find? How many studies met their strict criteria?
Right, and here's where it gets quite revealing. Despite that massive search effort, they only found 2 studies that actually fit the bill. 2 randomized or controlled clinical trials that met their standards. One by Oldham from '95 and one by Stevens from 2002.
Only 2. After all that searching, that feels like a really small number to base conclusions on.
It is small, and that's absolutely key to understanding their findings. The review's main conclusion was that the evidence for NMES in this group was, quote, unclear. But, and this is a big but, it's crucial to know why it was unclear. It wasn't because those studies proved NMES didn't work.
Ah, okay, so unclear doesn't mean ineffective. It means something else.
Exactly. It means the studies they could include had issues. They flagged them as having a high risk of bias. Things like limitations in the study design. Results weren't precise. They couldn't get the raw data from the authors to do a proper combined analysis, a meta-analysis. A lot of results were just shown as graphs, like percentage improvements, not solid numbers.
Mhm.
So yeah, hard to draw really firm conclusions from that specific data set, but definitely doesn't rule out the possibility that NMES is beneficial. The review itself basically said, we need better studies.
Right. So the evidence base back in 2010 was unclear, not necessarily the actual effect of NMES. Did those two studies show any hints of positive effects? Any glimmers of hope in the data?
Absolutely. And this is really the hopeful part for anyone considering their options. While the overall strength measurements were a bit mixed across the two studies, the Stevens study, the one from 2002, it reported significantly better quadriceps muscle activation in the group that got NMES plus exercise compared to just exercise alone. And this was measured at the 6-week point post-surgery. That's a really positive signal.
Muscle activation. The very thing we said is often a big problem after TKR.
Precisely. Given that we know activation deficits are a major reason for that persistent weakness, finding that NMES seemed to improve activation specifically, that's very encouraging. It suggests NMES can help, wake those muscles up, improve that brain-muscle communication pathway. That's a foundational step for building back strength.
Okay, that is a great takeaway. So it really sounds like the message wasn't NMES doesn't work, but more like we need better design studies to prove how well it works. It points towards potential.
Right,
Ah,
exactly that. The review authors themselves explicitly said, well-designed randomized controlled trials are needed. That was their call to action. They wanted future research with clear details on dosage, proper strengths testing, results reported in a way you can combine them, and focusing on outcomes that matter to you, the patient like functional ability, satisfaction. It was basically a roadmap for the research needed to get those definitive positive answers. It highlights the promise.
This brings us back to thinking about the whole recovery picture and bringing in new tools and approaches. For you listening, if you're dealing with TKR recovery, hearing about something like NMES, even with that unclear label from 2010 due to study limits, it offers, it offers hope. It's another avenue, something potentially helpful to explore with your physio or doctor.
It really does. That potential to improve muscle activation, especially when it's relatively accessible technology,
Yeah.
it makes NMES a very intriguing option to discuss. It fits perfectly with the idea of using every available tool to get the best possible recovery,
Yeah.
particularly for tackling that stubborn quad weakness.
But you mentioned accessible technology. If NMES has this promise, are companies actually making this kind of thing user-friendly for people recovering at home?
We see innovators in this space, and Oriems Fit comes to mind here. They offer tools that seem aligned with this. Yeah, that's a good example. Their Oriems Fit Ultimate devices, those are muscle stimulators using that EMS technology we've been discussing. But they're specifically designed to be portable, mobile, easy for you to use yourself while still packing a punch, being effective. It kind of empowers you to take an active role.
Right, putting some control back in your hands during a challenging recovery.
Exactly. And, recovery isn't just about the physical body, is it? Your mental state, your mood, it's all connected. Good mental health really can support physical healing.
Oh, absolutely. Staying positive through rehab, it's half the battle sometimes.
For sure. And Oriems Fit seems to get this bigger picture, too. This other interesting product, the Neck Theater.
Neck theater. Sounds like one of those neck massagers.
Ah, good question. But no, and this is important. It's not a massager. It's actually an 8D immersive audio speaker. Think of it like a portable sound system you wear. The idea is to use sound, like music or soundscapes, to uplift your mood, create a positive feeling, kind of like being at a concert.
Wow, that's different. So using audio to boost well-being during recovery.
Precisely. That link between feeling good mentally and recovering better physically. Plus, clever design, it doesn't block your ears, so you're still aware of what's around you. They even mentioned it's good for safer hands-free calls. It's just a really interesting, holistic approach to wellness.
Okay, so let's bring it all together. For you listening, if you've had a knee replacement or you're maybe heading towards one, what's the bottom line on NMES from this research? Well, that 2010 Cochrane review said unclear evidence. Remember why. It wasn't a thumbs down on the tech itself. It was a call for better research. And crucially, that positive finding on improved muscle activation. That's a really strong, hopeful signal. It definitely suggests NMES has promising potential for your recovery journey.
Absolutely. So the question becomes, if you're looking for every possible advantage, every tool that might help you get back on your feet faster and stronger, and if your physical therapist thinks it's appropriate for you, then NMES is certainly something worth considering and discussing. It could be a really valuable addition to your standard rehab program. It's about staying informed and proactive about your options.
And if you are intrigued and you want to learn more about these kinds of innovative wellness solutions, especially those backed by science, You should check out Oriems Fit. They're not just making products, they've got recognition. Like Best Product of the Year for 2024 and 2025 from productreview.com.tado. That's impressive.
Yeah, and nearly 500 Google reviews averaging 5 stars. That shows real user satisfaction.
Plus, that neck theater thing clearly struck a chord, over 17 million views on TikTok and Instagram.
Oh, wow.
They've built a real global community around their approach.
And importantly, if you want to dig into the science yourself, see the studies we talked about, find more research, definitely visit the Oriems Fit Research Digest. We always believe in giving you access to legitimate, peer-reviewed studies so you can make informed choices based on solid evidence.
Great point. And of course, you can visit the Oriems Fit website to see their full range of products and updates. So if you found this deep dive helpful, maybe share it with someone else who's going through TKR recovery. Follow the deep dive on your platform of choice. Leave us a review if you can. Join our community of science enthusiasts. We'll be back soon to unpack another interesting topic.